Okay, I press record. That means we're recording. Sean O'Rourke, man, you are at the beach. How is the weather? Where are you at?
I'm in San Diego, and this is my backyard. It's currently 8:10 p.m. and this is what it looks like in San Diego. I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's just sunny. It's just sunny and like a little windy. That's actually a little windy for my taste, but
Yeah, it's a little breezy, but it's 75. The wind brings it down to a cool 71. But no complaints, man. No
dude,
complaints.
how does it feel to be a dad soon?
A dog dad.
Well,
A dog dad.
I don't know how it got there, but you were holding up like the ultrasound.
That I was.
So, I mean, whatever works, like
It's
if
a
you're
dog
not this enough and
It's a
you
dog.
need like a surrogate to come in.
We're bringing another dog into the family, and we are really excited about it. So her name's going to be Bonnie. She's a Cane Corso. She's 3 days old, and we're going to have to wait probably till January, but the breeder's up in Bakersfield, and that's where I'll be driving up to meet her here in a little bit. So maybe I'll swing by and see you.
Maybe we could do like an in-person thing. I have 2 of these.
Ooh, it's a great idea. We're already planning our next podcast episode.
All
right, what's the name of our podcast?
It is Simple Man Wrestling
I like
podcast show. It's a working title.
It's a working title. We need a like a cool intro too eventually.
We should if only there was like a song that we could do. Like, I mean, I feel like I could sing Simple Man by Leonard Skinner, but I feel like there's a chance it could get like taken down.
Yes.
I wonder how that works with covers though. Or maybe we could do like a parody, like a wrestling parody.
Wow, Bandit just left.
Yeah.
He's over your podcast.
The tree is talking right now. The tree is talking. You ever talked to trees before?
No, I haven't.
Trees got some wisdom, man.
So this is going to be obviously a wrestling podcast that we intend to try to keep up on a weekly basis throughout the season. We're not just going to only talk about California wrestling, where we both are, but I feel like we'll have some good topics for high school wrestling across the country, college wrestling, maybe some international stuff, kind of wherever we want to go with it, really, right?
It's wherever we want to go. We can go anywhere.
I like that. Like the beach.
I'll go anywhere with you, Sean.
There we go. That's what I like to hear.
How's practice been?
Tired and my body hurts. I don't know about you, but I'm only 25 years old and I feel broken.
Do you wrestle every day?
Every day.
So do you run practice every day too?
Yeah, I mean, there are times where I am running and wrestling at the same time, running practice and wrestling at the same time. But there are times where I just have one of the other coaches just run it so that I can just focus on giving whoever I'm drilling with the best possible look. Plus, it can get really chaotic, like having to run over, grab the timer, press a new button, call out whatever, and then get back into drill. It's like, man, sometimes I need to catch my breath, So
yeah.
I get
you're
tired.
not that good in shape anymore.
Hey,
you guys have that beeper?
Round is a shape. No, we have a bar and it connects to an app, which is through Bluetooth, and I can set it for like 2-minute goes, 3-minute goes, 10, 15 seconds in between, however much I need in between, and it just goes on cycles. And I can.
It's like an interval interval training app.
Not super duper complex. I can't do matches up on it like with scoreboard and stuff like some other people have in their room, which is pretty cool, but we're getting there.
I just use this. It's blurry, dude. I just use
watch.
this. Yeah. And then it has a timer function. I just go like that. And then I go like to stop. And then to reset, I just go like, and then it's got this cool little thing. You won't be able to see it because of but it glows. You can't see it. It's blurry.
It's the light function on your watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes I use my voice or I use a whistle.
Yeah.
I saw this, John Smith was leading a practice, and then I heard like an interview, and he talked about how he likes using the whistle because it simulates wrestling, which makes sense. Start at the whistle, stop at the whistle, stop. There's no like, when the referee doesn't say wrestle, it's a whistle blow. So getting that and associating time with moving or sound with moving, and then stopping when the sound goes off again.
That's true. And that's super true. I mainly use the whistle for whistle starts on top, bottom, goes. And I don't know why I do that. Like if we're going to be like, all right, we're going to do escapes on bottom. We're going to focus on, getting the best start on bottom and trying to jump the whistle, right? I have everyone look at me in the room on bottom. So I have the top man cover and I blow the whistle and I try to get them in the repetition and the habit of watching me blow the whistle and trying to beat the whistle, right? Trying to jump the whistle, get a good start on bottom. But that's the only time I use it. Like if it's regular goes, if it's sprints, like I don't know why. We should be using them more though. I think the whistle is something that the newer generation is kind of strayed from, and we need to bring it back. We need to bring back the whistle. Hashtag bring back the whistle. Let's do it.
Blow the whistle.
Blow the whistle. I like it.
Blow the whistle.
I like it. Well, let's get into introductions, Brian, so people know who.
Well, no, but this is you just gotta let it happen, dude. So let me tell you this. I played pickleball for the first time. For the first time since like middle school. Have you ever played pickleball?
My mom plays it every weekend.
Dude, it's fun. And it's like I was looking up USA pickleball today. And it's one of the fastest growing sports, I guess. But I played pickleball for the first time. And I feel like I'm an athletic guy, but it was pretty humbling, getting my butt whooped. And you play to 11 and it was like 10-0. And I'm playing against guys who've been playing a little bit longer than I have, obviously. But I'm getting smoked. Huh?
Were they over the age of 65?
No, they were my age.
Okay.
He was my age.
To clarify.
And we're playing, and he's just smoking me, right? And I realized it's like, I was doing a lot of things where I was like trying stuff, like trying to hit the, trying to slice, or what do you call it? Is he call it slicing? Like slicing the ball and like trying to get, I was trying all this extra stuff. And it's like, you just keep it simple, right? Like make him beat you, don't beat yourself. But then after I was thinking, I'm like, man, like I just got my butt whooped and I want to keep playing. Like I want to get better at this, And I told that same story to my youth group today, and just the junior high after. So we go high school in the morning, and then we go varsity or JV in the morning, and then we go high school, and then we have right after classes done, we go JV, then varsity, and then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday we have junior high at the high school. So I told that same story to the junior high group because we have a couple first year wrestlers, and they're kind of getting beat up on a little bit. Yeah. And I told them like, hey, like, this is a process. Like no one should expect to be good right away. It takes time. And if you look at it like, okay, like there's one kid, it's his first day, he's in 8th grade. I'm like, okay, you're going to be at, Frontier next year. Imagine this in 5 years. So by the time you're a senior, where can you be wrestling wise? Like right now, like, are you that good? And he's like, no. I'm like, where do you think you could be in like 5 years if you show up every day and are consistent, work hard? He's like, you'll be okay. And I'm like, yeah, exactly, man. That should be like the thought process in the training right now is like, don't worry about how good you are right now. No one cares about how good you are in the 8th grade. Okay. Where are you going to be when you're a senior? Okay. Were you good when you started right away?
I was horrible.
When did you start wrestling? You started in high school?
Yeah, freshman year of high school.
What got you into wrestling?
There was a kid, so I played freshman football. I had never played football ever. And there was a kid who played football with me, and we already kind of knew each other, and we were going to play baseball in the spring. And he was like, hey, are you playing a winter sport? And I was like, no, not that I know of. I mean, I don't think so. And he's like, you should come out for the wrestling team. Like I wrestled, for a little bit as an 8th grader, like, you should come out, you're athletic, whatever. So I was like, sure, I'm not going to play basketball. I was tiny. So I went out, joined the wrestling team. We had a super small team. So it wasn't like there was cuts or anything like that. And I got on the team and started my freshman year. But I was terrible, Brian. I was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's such like a hard learning curve. How was your team your freshman year?
Horrible as well. My high school hadn't had a male state qualifier until me eventually. But up until I got there was never one.
Well, so I want to say they didn't have like a girls' state tournament until like 2015. Is that right?
So,
I don't know the date on that.
No, because we had a girl state qualifier and placer my senior year, which would have been my freshman year, which would have been 2011 state tournament. So we had a girl, she was like 101 pounds. She was really good. She beat a lot of boys in San Diego. And I remember she made it to state, placed, I think 7th or 8th. Was our first school state qualifier and medalist at the same time. And then, but we had never had a boy. We had boy masters placers, but we never had one qualify for state. So for me, it was kind of hard because I didn't really know what it took to be good, like I didn't know what hard work and what all the sacrifice that I see kids doing nowadays as a coach. I didn't really know what it was back then. And it was hard for me to adopt that, within the first couple of months of wrestling.
Yeah.
Not only was I a first year wrestler, but I started like right at the start of season, which is, in November. So by December, I was wrestling in tournaments as a freshman, not knowing what I was doing and just kind of going out there and winging it. And it was rough. I took a lot of losses.
Did you feel like at any point, like you were losing, well, obviously losing that much probably affects your confidence at least a little bit. What would you say, like, kind of kept you in it?
I think a big part of it for me was the competitive nature, just because it sucked like taking lots of losses, but I was really, I don't know what, I think it was the coaches, honestly. My coaches were very good at bringing you back up because every time you lose, you fall, you're in your worst place ever, especially when you get beat really bad. And then I had coaches who were just really good. They were very personable and they were able to bring me back up. And that kept me coming back in the room, putting in the work, and then ultimately led to just off-season wrestling and not doing anything but wrestling. After that year, I didn't play football again and I didn't play baseball again. And I just wrestled year round because I was so in love with it.
Yeah. And I don't know, you probably weren't going to get a lot of, football scholarships to big schools after high school. Maybe.
I doubt it.
You're not that fast either.
No, I was a pretty decent runner in college.
Okay. We were runners.
Yeah, we were. But no, I think because I played baseball since I was 4, so I had some athleticism with that. But after wrestling that freshman year, I was like, man, I don't want to play any other sports. I just want to focus on wrestling.
So you didn't even play baseball your freshman year?
I did play baseball, but once the season ended, I was like, Mom, Dad, and it was hard to break it to them. I was like, we're done playing baseball, and they were upset. They tried to, tell me no, try to push me against it, and I was like, my mind's made. Like, I want to wrestle, I want to train, I want to get really good, I want to come back next year, and I want to freaking kick some butt. And I did that.
So what would you say like helped you jump levels the most?
Camps.
Freshman year and years after. You said camps?
Yeah. So my freshman year after that, I didn't win a single varsity match my freshman year. I think I had because I started on varsity because our team was so small as a freshman. So I started on varsity. I didn't win a single match. I had won maybe 3 or 4 JV matches. And then in the summertime, my mom sent me to a Ken Chertow 2-week camp in
Pennsylvania?
Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I met some really studly, college wrestlers that were kind of helping out at the time.
Do you remember who was there?
There was this guy, I want to say it was Joe Kemmerer. He was a D2 guy.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's related to Mike Kemmerer.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But he was an upper body guy, and I could be totally screwing his name up. He's a little guy, like had flowish blonde hair, and he had some pretty sick stuff. I mean, if you saw the guy, you'd be like, "Oh, I know who he's talking about." But he was upper body guru. Like he foot sweeps, arm spins, like he'd take you from feet to back in seconds. Obviously Ken Chertow was there. There was another guy, he's pretty popular right now. I want to say either on the college or high school circuit, Vinny. He's a big guy.
Uh,
I think I want to say he's a Jersey guy. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look him up.
you sure he's a big guy?
Yes, big guy for sure.
I don't know.
I'll find it. We'll revisit
Diesel?
it. Vin Diesel. Stupid. And there was a couple other guys there, but I don't know. It was just so long ago. But yeah, I
So
did
you
that.
went to camps, and then what was like what was the moment where you felt like was it your first tournament back, like your sophomore year? Or was like, all right,
Yes.
okay, now like I figured out like how to get better at this thing. I just need to do it over the summer. Like what
Yep.
can you remember that moment at all?
Yeah, I came back. I wrestled in a varsity tournament like the opening weekend of the season. And I freaking went out there and placed. I mean, I didn't place super high, but I took like, I don't know, 5th place or something at like a local San Diego tournament, which doesn't mean a whole lot for what it's worth. But
Well, it's all, I mean, it's all perspective. Like, I mean,
100%.
you hadn't won a varsity match, right? And then
Exactly.
you go your first varsity, tournament, you did better than you did
Yeah.
before.
Oh yeah. It was like instant gratification and showing that the more work I put in, the more, I was going to be happy with the results. So that was huge. And then I kept building on it and building on it and building on it. And actually had a pretty decent sophomore year. So I couldn't really complain.
Yeah.
For a second.
So when you go to like bigger tournaments, like obviously, you're from San Diego, there's, Poway and there's Rancho Bernardo. There's quite a few other schools now, and I'm sure there was back then too when you were in high school. Did you ever feel like you were like a big fish in like a small pond? Like, cause you knew like in the southern section and the central section, like just dang near like everyone's pretty good.
I didn't feel like that until maybe my junior and senior year. I started to definitely notice it my junior year that I started to outgrow San Diego wrestling. And that's when my coaches were like, we got to travel for tournaments. And so that year they took me to Doc B. They took me to maybe Temecula. I know I did it my senior year and maybe my junior year as well. But that's kind of that's kind of when they were like, oh, we got to get you out of San Diego. Like, you can't just keep wrestling in these local San Diego tournaments all year and then expect to go and wrestle state caliber guys from other sections that you haven't seen, so that worked out well. It was tough at first, like being introduced to those bigger, tournaments, like going to Doc B. I was like, that guy's ranked 1 in the state. That guy's ranked 6 in the state. That guy's ranked 8 in the state. And they're all, that's 1, 2, and 3 seed at my weight. I was like, oh, this is insane, where I was normally going to tournaments and I was being the 1 seed. And that was just something I wasn't used to because I was normally facing San Diego competition.
Yeah. And I want to say for Doc B, it was like maybe like 13, 14, 15. That was when they were starting to get like Wyoming Seminary.
Yeah.
And I want to say, is it where did Shane Griffith go? Was it like Bethlehem Catholic or something like Bergen Catholic? Bergen Catholic came out. They'd have teams from like Washington and like Nevada, and that's when it started getting hard. Where it's like, yeah, dude, this is harder than a state tournament. Like I think my senior year, I was rounded 12. But I went like, or I was around 12 at state. But I went like 1 and 2 at Doc B, dude. And every single match was like hard,
I think I went 2 and 2 at best at Doc B. That was my senior year, and then my junior year, I went 0 and 2. I just got knocked out of the tournament, and I was like, wow, okay, well, that's tough. Yeah, I think the introduction of that level of wrestling is huge, and now, as a coach, I'm trying to get that, that introduction as soon as possible. So like last year, our schedule was my high school team was pretty strong. We had Reno, TOC, we had Doc B, and then we had Temecula. And it was like, those are 3 hammer tournaments, right? When we didn't do it last year, like the point system for tournaments, but those are considered 10-point tournaments on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being tough and 1 being not very tough. Those are 10-point tournaments. So you gotta hit those. And it's just better for the guys. It pays off when you go to the state meet, they have experience wrestling high level guys, and just good. Just helps them grow.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like your schedule has to kind of match your team a little bit. I think so. Like we have this point where we have a lot of we had a lot of first year wrestlers last year that are going to be in our varsity room. They're in our varsity room right now. That put a lot of time in over the summer, but we're still going to send them to a JV tournament this weekend. It's well, we need to slowly get back into things. And then we also have guys that are also contending to medal. So it was interesting doing stuff like in the spring and summer where we just had a combined room.
Right.
And there's got to be a lot of trust. Like, okay, hey, go. This is what you guys are working on. This is what you guys are working on. And when you have that many people in a room, especially those different levels, it's they have to be independent and know how to do that. But I really like our team this year, and I think again we have a lot of sophomores, a really talented group of freshmen that are coming in or that are in right now. That I think, and kind of like what I alluded to earlier, in 2 or 3 years, I think we're going to be a really good team, and that's after we lose Miguel and Bryson and our seniors right now. I think we're going to have a pretty good team. But
you guys have a club?
You guys are okay. What'd you say?
You have a club?
Yeah, we have a club.
You guys
it's Elite Force.
What's it called? Elite Force?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And you guys do kids club too, not just middle school and stuff?
Yeah. So this last year was the first year we did a junior high group. Because we don't have middle school wrestling here, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So when I moved from Illinois to Santa Cruz, Santa Cruz had middle school wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, going here, it's well, there's so many dang high schools. There's 18 or something like that in Bakersfield, which is a lot. And there's twice as many junior high and elementaries. Well, there's no, it's expensive getting a new mat and stuff like that and paying for coaches and getting coaches to go there. So yeah, it's interesting thinking there's no middle school wrestling in our area. It's all through club.
Yeah, it was funny that you brought that up because, well, I guess I brought it up, but I was just talking to one of my coaches that what's it called? Wrestling Changed My Life podcast. He had Kevin Dresser on, and he kind of talked about how popular the middle school wrestling circuit was and how middle schools had teams and they did all these things. And we were talking about how if that could even work down here in San Diego, and it would just be so, I don't know, it would just be so hard. It's easier, in my opinion, to go to maybe the high school or the middle schools and, try to expose them to wrestling, but get them to go wrestle for a club team versus having individual middle school programs at each. There's just so many, and I don't think there's enough wrestling coaches to staff the amount of middle schools in San Diego to have a middle school duels or middle school programs at each school to duel the other schools. I don't know. This
is something I've spent a lot of time thinking about. And there's a couple other coaches on our side of town. We kind of talked about it too. But for one, I think a good example is just Clovis Unified School District. It starts off, you have, I think is it Steve Buchanan? I don't remember the guy's first name. Steve Buchanan's a wrestler. I can't remember the guy's first name. But he's the guy who, they named Doc B after, they named Buchanan High School after. I think it just takes a strong administrator with a clear goal and able to rally some people and say, hey, this is important to do, and really just set up athletics through, just clearly just through the high school, through the middle schools and through the elementary schools. But it's hard to do that in something that's already been in place for a while. Right. So I think the way to do that, at least in Bakersfield, is make a connection with an admin. Go through your athletic director and see what kind of relationships they have with the local schools, and then also work with other sports. What's an option? What's a cheap, affordable option for a middle school, team to have? Well, you could have a cross country team, in the fall. You could have wrestling in the winter. You could have, or basketball even. Most schools have gyms. Even if it's something where it's for basketball, an outdoor blacktop league, you could do something and have something in place where kids could play that sport before they get into high school. Right. And it doesn't even have to be that long of a season. Do start a couple months, And then if you want to keep doing it, okay, well, the clubs in town will base your season off of the middle school season.
The
You know,
clubs
but
are going
the way that we're thinking about doing it is like, okay, you know, there's a couple different middle schools in each like school zone. Let's just get one middle school just to say they're down and like coordinate with all the other ones like in our league. And like, okay, that way they're going to have at least, there's going to be 4 teams with, you know, 4 different middle schools that they can all kind of compete against.
Yeah. The hard thing is manning each school with a coach.
Yeah. I mean, if it's in like the spring, you know, I mean, you can get one of the high school guys or one of the high school coaches to do it and have a high school guy assist you.
Yep. Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's definitely doable. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's definitely doable. It would be very hard, but it would, I think it would be beneficial. I really do. If I had the support and the staff to do it, I think it would be something awesome. But maybe if wrestling keeps growing, then yeah, we can make it happen.
We need to grow girls wrestling.
That is one of the fastest growing sports in America right now, and I'm loving it because it's so fun to watch them. I'm good friends with Sammy Calkins, who's at Iowa now. She was at Liberty.
You're good friends with her?
I am.
I'm good friends with Alex. Like, you know,
I'm better friends with her coach,
her brother
obviously,
and her dad,
or former coach, Alex Encarnacion. But I was just at his wedding and was talking to her about, you know, her time at Iowa, what it's been like, you know. I kind of.
What'd she say about Chun?
I don't know if we got into it. I don't know if I got into it. We're more just talking about the transition in the room, you know, but it's just another level. But it's just awesome to see, you know, a girl like her work her tail off all through high school, and now she gets to go wrestle at Iowa. Like how freaking cool, you know?
Yeah, she's a trailblazer for sure.
Yeah.
My friend, Dominic Parrish.
There you go.
Well, I'd say we're probably more acquaintances now. I haven't talked to her in a while, but we went to high schools right next to each other. And yeah, I mean, I think we actually did a camp when we were both in college together. But yeah, that was cool to see. I was like, oh, I know her.
And then you got like Amit Alor, who's just freaking tearing it up right now. Like,
yeah, dude. I mean, that shows for one, like how far women's wrestling has come in such a short time. And it also shows like just like the evolution of youth wrestling. Yeah. Like so quickly, dude. And you see that you look at all these freshmen that are wrestling right now. Like look at the 2 guys at Iowa State. You know, they both beat ranked guys. You know, their first match in college. Swiderski and what's the other guy's name? You know what I'm talking about?
Which weight class?
It's
49. The one that beat Gomez.
Yeah, there's that one. That's at 40. It's 41 and 49. Yes. But you know, it's just it's cool, and this has been talked about a lot. But just you know, there are guys that you know they're just ready to go right away. They're just ready to go, right? And it's insane. And that's what's cool. I think you know just the club system in the country, and then just having access to YouTube and Flow Wrestling and stuff like that is pretty sweet.
It's growing an insane amount.
You got what'd you say?
It's just grown an insane amount. It's light years past where even when we were in high school. It's not even the same. Technique wise, outlets, technique videos, it's just everything it's completely, it's almost a different sport. The basics remain the same, but it's grown in an incredible amount. So hopefully it just keeps doing it, and in a couple of years it'll be even better. Can't really complain.
Yeah. Well, do you want to break down these rankings?
Let's do it. Should we start with weight classes, or
I'm going to share my screen.
Share the screen so the people can see.
I can do that.
Now let you start where you want to go. Do you want to do
let's start from the bottom.
All right.
Can you see me?
Yep.
You see I can't see you. Why is this the way that it is? Is sharing screen. Hold on.
You're screen sharing. You're good.
Window. Whatever.
Real quick while we're trying to get this figured out, what's your favorite flavor of Gatorade?
Favorite flavor? Okay, this is going to be controversial. Are you going to give me Gatorade? Is that why you're saying that?
No, I'm drinking my favorite flavor right now.
Is it it's not apple, it's the pickle one. No, what's it called? No, you know what I'm talking. It's not a cactus cooler. It's like
Oh, it's the lime cucumber.
lime cucumber, dude. That's a weird one, man. That's
It's
a
so
weird
good.
one.
It's
I like grape.
grape,
Yeah.
Brian.
So okay, so this is since I switched schools, this is what's pretty nice. So gas stations are like I feel like an underrated place to get like varieties of candy. Like the gas station that's next to Frontier was the first place I saw grape sour punch straws, which is my favorite candy. And I was like, dude, they got grape? They got grape? Dude, it was great.
I
It was
hate.
great. Okay, let's start at 106.
All right.
106. All right, you can see this?
Yeah. So, first thing I noticed after looking at these, oh, by the way, shout out Michael Cho for doing these. The guy's literally, he's a wizard, Brian. Like, I don't know how he does it, how he goes through the amount of, he's got to have so many spreadsheets. It's insane.
I mean, I'm sure part of it is you go and look at the last year's stuff.
Sure, but he keeps even up to date stuff over the summer. He sees head to head results, you know, how guys are doing. He puts in their tournament placings from Fargo, Super 32, you know, some of the other stuff. And for those of you who aren't California wrestling fans, this is our state rankings and they're done by one single person. And, you know, some people will probably be like, oh, that could lead to some bias. This guy does none of that. I mean, he keeps it freaking, you know, he's, you know, straight edge, keeps it perfect, you know, as close to perfect. A lot of people use these for seeding at tournaments, even the state meet will sometimes use them. So yeah.
Well, how do you feel about Cal Grappler?
I saw their rankings and I'm not trying to throw some hate, but there were some mistakes in there. And
yeah, there's some mistakes.
not even like judgmental mistakes. Like there was a couple guys that were ranked at 2 weight classes, which that doesn't make sense. But yeah, no, there was some interesting stuff going on. But the thing about Michael in these rankings is he's got the guys who have transferred. He knows the guy must have like people calling him every day to just give him all the dirt and all the gossip because the guy knows everything. It's insane.
I mean, yeah, we can. I'll go to my point on gossip and stuff like that down the line. I'm sure.
Right.
Right.
Well,
But just looking at this, I mean, so I feel like these first couple weights are really hard to rank because for one, you have, I mean, look at all the freshmen that you have. I mean, you kind of know like a little bit, like you know, I know Zinkin's tough. I actually met him. I didn't know who he was at the time, but I was at a Fresno State football game a couple weeks ago, and you know, I recognized like a Buchanan sweatshirt. And the people I was with kind of know, like just those Fresno guys a little bit. And I'm like, you know, oh, like who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Rockland. I'm like, okay, like what's your last name? He's like Zinkin. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like as I'm walking away, the person was like, yeah, he's probably gonna be pretty good. I'm like, okay. But yeah, here he is, ranked number 1.
Yeah, you kind of beat me to the punch. You got Zinkin, you got Wren or Lewis from Clovis, depending on who gets the starting spot, and then you got Wilcox and Torres over at St. John Bosco. That's like an insane amount of freshmen just in the top 5, you know, spots at 106.
Yeah, and you got another Bobsian.
Yeah, little Bobsian. His big brother's over at Wisconsin right now. He's doing pretty good. He just took 3rd at, I want to say.
Was it the Michigan State Open?
Yeah, it was either that or the Southeast Open. I don't know, but he wrestled in the Frosh Soft division, I'm pretty sure, and he took 3rd. So you got to be happy with that result. But yeah, it'll be interesting to watch little Bobsian and see if he can live up to his big brother's name.
Some of these guys like Laura and Posadas, I'm not sure if they're going to wrestle 106 or not. Like some of these returners down here, I don't know if they're going to stay at this weight. Like some of these guys, especially the ones from Central Section that I've seen at some of these preseason tournaments, they're looking pretty big right now. I know Laura wrestled 106 last year. I could see him, you know, probably starting maybe even at 20s and going down to 13s.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know a lot of these guys, honestly. There's a lot of youngsters. Obviously number 2, Abram Klein, is one of my boys at the high school. He's definitely a 6-pounder, but he's working really hard right now. And We lost to Rockland actually at the in the finals of the Super 32 qualifier. So that was a tough one. It was a close match, good match. So hopefully we get another chance to see Rockland in the future and get a chance to, take in his spot on this sheet right here. But yeah, as for everyone else, I mean, I've seen Devin and Taz wrestle. But most of these other guys I'm unfamiliar with just because they're so young.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the next one. I mean, I feel like 13s is kind of the same thing. Like, I'm not really sure where exactly all these guys are going to actually stay.
Yeah. The big thing with this weight class is 2 and 3. Moses Mendoza and Carrillo, both freshmen, Gilroy and St. John Bosco, and they are good. I mean, these guys are. I don't know if it's my bias or not, but the freshman class this year, just across the state of California, and there's been some talk about it on the forums and whatnot. It's insane. Like, we're going to come into some even heavier weight classes where we're going to have freshmen ranked in the top 10. And you're like, man, I don't remember that ever being a thing,
Well, I mean, that's kind of like the new thing with a lot of that's because of clubs. Like, it's the same thing in college. Like, these middle school and elementary school wrestlers, they come in and they're ready to go. I know Mendoza from Gilroy beat Edwin Sierra from Poway. He beat him at Fargo in the semis, I want to say. It was a close match, and yeah, it's freestyle. But I mean, that's a big win. Technically, you're not even a freshman yet. Like,
Right.
You're the summer before your freshman year. You beat somebody that placed fourth at the state the year before. And granted, again, it's 106. There's a lot of young guys just at this weight. But I think kind of just like how you said, there's going to be a lot of competitive freshmen right away. You got a senior here, though, right?
Yeah, number 16 is Carlo Areola. He's a senior. Looking to just make some jumps. I mean, the guy's worked really hard. He's got a good work ethic. He's kind of like a more softer spoken kid who just kind of puts his head down and goes to work. But like, what more can you ask for as a coach? I tell my kids, not everyone has to be like the super vocal, like, very vocal, loud leader in the room. Like, you can just lead by putting your head down and freaking busting your tail.
Yeah, speaking of somebody that seems like a guy that works pretty hard. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I've watched Leo Macias wrestle a lot. That's where it's at Kingsburg, where Coleman Hammond coaches.
Yep.
Yeah, he seems like a tough kid. I wouldn't say he's out of the realm of competing with these guys that are up here right now.
Yeah, I know him. I've seen him wrestle a few times, and yeah, I think he's a stud. He's definitely got what it takes to hang with the rest of these guys. So should be interesting. I don't know if Coleman and Bryce have a state placer yet since they've been at Kingsburg. So I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, they had Jonathan Viveros. He placed his junior year, and that was in 2020. And then his senior year he couldn't wrestle because of COVID. But he actually wrestles at CCB right now.
That's right. Well, this will be probably their next one, along with Van Bieber, who we'll get to in a little bit. So,
yeah, I want to say I can't remember their 20-pounder. Let's go ahead and jump to 20s. I can't remember if their 20-pounder last year placed.
He didn't, and I'm pretty sure he's up at 26 or 32 this year. So we'll
okay, it was Van Deber, I think is his name.
Yeah, Van Beber or Van Bieber. I don't know how you say it.
Van Bieber.
This is a good weight. Interesting enough, Quintero, who's a stud, just committed to Purdue, first at state last year, but he was down at 6s. So now he's all the way up at 20s in the preseason ranking. I don't know if he wrestles here throughout the year. Maybe he goes down to 13s or whatever later on. But I'd imagine this is part of a plan to kind of get ready for being at Big Ten Purdue. Just because, you can't, it hasn't been done, yes, but probably not the best idea to keep wrestling at 6s or even 13s if you're going to try and go wrestle for a Big Ten school and, kind of get.
Well, I think part of him being at El Dorado, he probably gets the call of, what weight you want to go, really.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he's not at some of these other big schools where it's like, okay, the coaches are kind of strategizing where they want their guys.
Right.
But I mean, it's still impressive, like the body of work that he's put in. Like, as a freshman, he got first at the California State Invite, which is not the same, but it's still a big deal. And then he was the 4 seed and beat I think it was Cortez last year in the semis, which is big. And then I'm trying to think, who did he wrestle in the finals? Was it
It was goodness gracious.
I'm gonna cheat and go back. Yeah, Ramirez from Walnut.
Ronnie. Yep. But the crazy thing about 20s is look how many 6-pounders you have. And for those of you who don't know, so if their box is green, that means they're a returning state medalist. If they're blue, that means they're a returning state qualifier. And if it's white, that means they've never been to the state meet. So it's just crazy that, at 6s at 20s, you have a returning medalist from 6s, Quintero, a returning medalist from 6s, Cortez, a returning medalist from 6s, Zinkin. If you go down, you've got returning medalist from 106, Victor Ramirez from Central Catholic. That's just a lot of 6-pounders all the way up at 20, and I like it. It's good.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a solid weight. And like kind of like how you said earlier, like we don't know exactly where these guys are gonna go. Part of what I like doing the rankings and actually kind of paying attention to some of these guys is like you kind of get to see their names a little bit. And I feel pretty confident in our guy, whether he goes 20s or 26s at this weight. But he's another guy that's putting a lot of time in over the offseason. I had some competitive matches with a couple of people on here in some offseason stuff. And I think, to be honest, I actually think he's a dark horse to place. So, we can talk about that later. We get maybe to the team rankings.
Yeah, I like it. 26s. You got
this is gonna be a fun weight.
This is a good weight.
If all these guys end up wrestling 26, I mean, we talked about Aiden Valencia a little bit. When I first saw him wrestle, I wasn't like super impressed. I felt like he couldn't he was good enough to open up and like really put up a lot of points, but I felt like he wasn't doing that. And then I watched him wrestle at the state meet, and I feel like he was actually trying to do that and like trying to wrestle hard and get to different positions. But I'm trying to remember. I think he ended up losing to Seth Romney from Shaman last year in the semis, and that one, yeah, that one hurt. I think
that was a tough one. Yeah, but Aiden Valencia, just a name that like most guys in California have been listening or hearing about for years, and I feel like I've been hearing about Aiden Valencia since I was in high school. Like, he was probably a 4, 5, or 6-year-old youth wrestler, but he just committed to Stanford. It should be interesting to see how this junior season unfolds for him. He was a 26-pounder last year, and if you look at pretty much everyone else on this sheet, no one else was a 26-pounder other than Jacob Perez from Monachi, who was a very good freshman last year and just came short of placing at the state meet.
So Perez is interesting. So he plays first at Central Section.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal. Like, you're a freshman that plays first in the Central Section. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
That's huge.
I feel like Valencia right now is probably a step above everybody else here. At this weight. I know he's a big guy. He's got a lot of muscle on him. I don't know if 26 is where we'll end up or not. Again, these are just the preseason rankings. But I don't know. I think another guy on this list where I don't know exactly where he's going to end up is Aiden Simmons. He's another guy that he was a quarterfinalist last year for BHS. He's tough. He's tough. He's scrappy. He's put a lot of time in it, and I've seen in the offseason. And we'll talk about this when we get to the team rankings. I actually think that, this kind of sucks being across town, but it's also a good thing. I think they're going to be pretty dang competitive this year. We can look at the team rankings later, but Adam Fiero and Matt Montero and Andy Barner and Frank Lomas are doing a good job over there.
Yeah, Bakersfield High School is going to be really good this year. Should be interesting. I think not only this year, but years to come. I mean, some of their guys that are really good are only like sophomores. So they're going to be fun to watch. Looking up real quick at number 9, how would you say that? Alec Van Beber, I guess.
Van Beber.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it. He's fun to watch. I like him. He's wrestled with me on a couple of dual teams in the off season, just when I needed, him to fill in on a lineup. He's really long and lanky, so I think at 26s he could definitely cause some of these guys some issues. He's got a lot of length, so he's
he's a tough leg rider. I
Yeah.
remember he put the legs in on us at the state meet last year, and he got us. I think he ended up getting pinned.
Yeah.
But he's pretty tough. He's pretty tough on top.
Yeah, so that'll be fine. I mean, he's got two of the best leg riders I've ever wrestled myself, Bryce and Coleman. So as coaches, so I'd hope he's pretty good with leg riding because that would only make sense.
Dude, those would be fun guys to have on here. Maybe more Coleman. I'm not sure if Bryce would want to be on here now, but man, I remember wrestling Bryce and literally pulling hairs out of my mouth because his arms are so hairy, and he would just put the legs in and just cross face me.
Yeah,
when I was a freshman.
You'd be flossing hair out of your mouth.
Yeah, I was flossing with his arm hair, man.
Yeah. All right, next weight. 32s. This is a good weight. But before we dive too deep into it, I just don't know if Grigor's gonna wrestle 32s this year, man. He just wrestled. I want to say he just wrestled at Super 32 at 38s. I could be wrong, but I think he wrestled at 38s at Super 32. And that just leads me to believe that if that's, if you're wrestling at that big of a tournament, early in the year at that high of a weight, like it's hard to imagine that he's going to go down from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't really know. What's his year? He's got to be a junior, right?
Yeah, he's a junior. I don't know why it's not up there, but yeah, he's a junior, just committed to Stanford. Kind of really blew up this last offseason. I want to say he wrestled at the Open he wrestled at a freestyle tournament. And he did really, really good. Beat a lot of good guys, and that kind of shot his name up on the national ranking board because, as you could see,
is that UWW's?
Yeah, it was UWW. He did really good. It was kind of a breakout tournament for him. And that just kind of has carried him on, and he's been doing really good. I think he placed top 5 at Super 32 and beat a lot of ranked guys at Elite 8 duels. So he's been on a tear lately. He's going to be fun to watch. I just don't know if he goes this weight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, that could be one of those tournaments where I remember Zahid, or maybe that was more of a postseason tournament and not a preseason tournament. But he wrestled at some tournament. It was like in the offseason, he wrestled like 52s. And they're like, man, he might be a 52-pounder next year. And he ended up jumping to 182s. So, again, like, we don't really know until the season starts. But I to be honest, I think, I mean, for one, there's 4 D1 commits in the top 8, which is telling, I think, of the weight. But honestly, like, I think outside of like the top 5, I feel like this weight, I mean, even in the top 3, I feel like this weight is pretty open.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. Joseph Toscano, freshman from Buchanan, that dude is good. I watched him wrestle. I believe at Elite 8 as well. Buchanan took pretty much their whole team out there, and that dude's tough. Zepeda was a little banged up last year at the state meet, but hopefully he's back healthy. And Luna, Montanona, obviously, and Grigor, that's a top heavy 3 guys. But you're not wrong. The podium seems very reachable. I've got a guy at 11. We call him JJ Suedos. He's a junior. He was 0-2 last year at the state meet, but up a weight at 38s due to some lineup conflicts and whatnot. So he made it to state as a sophomore, but didn't do too high. Ran into 2 really good guys at 38. But now he's down at his more natural weight class. So this could be interesting for him to see how he does against some of these guys that are ranked ahead of him.
Man, this is another one maybe from like a fan perspective. I'm kind of excited to see. Like, I'm a big fan of Thong Song. I always mess up his name, from Exeter. He's pretty legit, man.
I like that. I like him a lot. I talked to him last year for the first time at Doc B, and kind of kept up with him throughout the season. He's a really good kid, and I like the way he wrestles. He's like kind of in your face. He's not afraid to scrap. I remember him and Chemo from Selma last year, who's now at Lehigh. They had some sick battles, and Kimo was the better wrestler, obviously, a more experienced wrestler, was, 2 years older than him. And he's no slouch himself, but Tongson took it to him, didn't care, just was in his face, and he's got a fun style to watch. So that should be.
Yeah, when he's on, he wrestles really well. Sometimes I see him making some mistakes, like maybe, I want to say it was at Freak Show, just doing some things maybe that just a younger person kind of does. But I think he put a lot of time in the off season. I'm trying to remember. I think I wrote it down how he did at Fargo. Maybe I didn't. But he's a pretty tough guy. He's explosive. He wrestles hard. He does football too, so he's a multiple sport athlete, which is cool. But I mean, not to be overlooked, like Dario Lemus, like this actually might be his year. Joffrey's out of the way. He's a senior. He's going to Maryland, which is great. And now, hopefully it looks like he's, the leader of this Clovis team. Hopefully, I mean, from a fan's perspective, it would be cool to see him win state, but, he's got to earn it. Got to get through these guys.
I definitely agree with you. The only thing that makes this weight really interesting, and I know I already said this, but if Grigor adds to it,
yeah,
that would be sweet. Not to take anything away from 32s, but that would make this weight one of the more exciting weights. And then let's take a look at number 7, Andrew Barbosa. This guy's been wrestling for a long time. He's a junior. As you can see, his thing is whited out because he hasn't made it to state yet. He was injured all last year for his sophomore season. So he missed the whole year. Real unfortunate, but the guy's really good. I mean, he's been wrestling a long time. He's probably wrestled most of the guys on this list, probably even beat many of them in his younger days. He's going to be a fun one to watch this year and see how good he really is, and how he can compare and hang with some of the guys who have already been to the state meet and been there and done that kind of situation. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like, I mean, we do a lot of talking right now, but it's like we don't really know what's going to happen until we see it.
100%.
Yeah. All right, this is where we start. This is where we start getting interested here. I mean, with Bo, I think just everything that happened controversially last year. He's the favorite. He's going up a weight. I've heard some things that he might be going 52s. But again, like I don't know.
I've heard the same.
Him and his brother are going to Michigan, which is cool. I want to say, I can't remember who he wrestled in the Fargo finals, but he kind of got beat up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember who he wrestled, but then he went and wrestled at who's number 1, and he pinned that Penn State commit in like the first period with like the weirdest like far side wrist half I've ever seen. Did you watch that match?
Yeah, it was, I forgot, like, people were, like, hashtagging, like, Cali Funk and, like, stuff like that. It's like, dude, California really even known for their mat wrestling, man.
He had a wrist on the near side on top, and he had a far half on the far side. And he, like, ran over the wrist, and the guy just kind of went over into, like, a weird stack, and he pinned him. I mean, you can't take anything away from Bo for doing that, but it was almost just a really weird position, like, if you tried to just teach
it kind of looked like the other guy, like, stopped wrestling.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Stopped wrestling on the edge.
For sure, I agree. But hey, Bo took advantage and freaking got a number 1, ranking in the nation from it. So you got to be happy for him. I like this weight because at number 5, you've got 2 guys from Buchanan, Reggie Raiz and Devin Alexander, both upperclassmen, and neither of them have been the starting guy for Buchanan at the end of the season. They're both really good. I mean, these guys have beaten state qualifiers, state placers, everything in between, and they've never had a chance to go to the state meet, whether they lose their spot in the lineup to someone or injury takes over or something, with Buchanan and that, very, very strong depth that they have. These 2 guys are both upperclassmen and they've never started. So one of them is going to get the starting spot, and it should be interesting to see what they can do with it. Cause a team like Buchanan, you're fighting for that spot, and it's not, it's definitely not given, it's earned. So should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely goes to show just the depth that they have in that room. And then when you have guys that are at your weight, I think it was Kyle Lake was a senior last year at 45s, who was I want to say the top ranked guy going into the season, and still did pretty well. I think I want to say he ended up finishing maybe like fifth or sixth.
Yeah, he was up
there. And then the weights below you, you have the Joffreys. And then the weight above that 52s, I actually don't remember. Who's the Buchanan guy at 52s?
It was Swan.
Yeah, so you Swan, and then above you that you have, Mason Espinosa. Like you have a lot of guys you'd have to go through to start. And all those guys were placers. So yeah, and that's their room. Some of these other guys though, I know Martinez from Gilroy last year was hurt. I'm not sure how much stuff he's been putting in the offseason. I guess we'll see again when he takes the mat. I like Maxwell Wise. He kind of reminds me of me, actually. Like, he just wrestles really hard and, sometimes makes mistakes. And I want to say, I think he's the guy whose hair is like crazy. Have you seen him?
He's got some crazy hair. No, I'd have to
crazy hair.
I'll have to pull him up on Flow and watch some of the
He was on, I think he went to World Challenge. His hair's long, which is maybe just a part of his style, just wildly crazy. But yeah, he wrestles hard. And then Bo Priest. Bo Priest was a guy I was actually surprised at how he ended up at the state meet. He was a guy I was like, man, like he's a freshman. His brother was injured last year, who we haven't talked about yet, just because he's not in the rankings. He didn't wrestle last year. His brother Brayden, his twin, is pretty good too. We'll see him pop up for sure. But he's a pretty cerebral guy when it comes to wrestling. He's kind of fun to have wrestling conversations with. But Bo beat Chemo last year at the Central Section. I want to say it was maybe in the quarterfinals, and that was probably his big win. And then just didn't get done at the state meet, which is it's tough when you're a freshman. It's tough when you're a freshman, kind of just being under the lights for a big time for the first time. And I feel like you see that a lot, especially at like some of the lower weights.
Yeah, I didn't know that he beat Chemo. That's a big win. Freshman beating a Lehigh commit like that. You don't see that very often. So that's pretty big. And I want to say Priest has an older brother at Cal Poly right now.
Yeah, that's I know him. I
just watched him wrestle. I watched the Poly versus Cal Baptist duel in person, and he wrestled at it. So I almost am 100% that was his older brother. I don't
know. That's his older brother. He was a two-time placer.
Yeah, he's good, really good. Also, number 9, you got Wanderlei Whittington, who's committed to our alma mater, CS Bakersfield. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's man. Him and his dad are just great people. And just talking to Luke Smith and their Wanderlei and Wanderlei's dad. They were just like, we're going to Bakersfield. Like they're just down for Cal State Bakersfield, and we're just Bakersfield fans. And like I said, he wrestles hard. He's a really nice kid. He's a good kid. I think it's a great fit. I mean, I like seeing hardworking, good kids going to Cal State Bakersfield. I feel like when you have those kinds of people, it's a great fit.
You gotta have those people. And then last one on this sheet is 10. We got Ryan Rios, freshman at Edison. Now this kid's got an interesting story because he's obviously really good, incoming freshman. It wouldn't surprise me if he takes top 8 at the state meet at all. He's really the funny thing about this guy is from what I've heard is that he was at one high school and then was at another high school and then was at another high school, and now he's landed at Edison. So it sounds like he's there for good now. We'll see. The kid's good though. He wrestled at Fargo, won a lot of matches. He wrestled at Super 32. He won a lot of matches. I mean, for a freshman, this kid's got some talent. So don't be surprised if he starts to climb through this ranking.
Yeah, I'll be watching. We'll see if I'm surprised or not. We can skip this one if you want.
Well, for those of you who don't know, this is the the weight for me and Brian, because he has number 1 in the state wrestling for him at Frontier, and I have number 3 in the state wrestling for me at Granite Hills. And man, we're just excited to see what happens. Obviously, there's talk about Bo going 52s. He's looking pretty jacked lately. If that happens, this weight, in my opinion, becomes the toughest weight in the tournament.
I mean, I think it's the toughest weight for anyone that is not number 1 right now. I think if you have, I mean, in terms of, well, I mean, yeah,
That's
I don't
fair.
know. I don't need to say too much. I think if you know who Miguel is, he's a pretty tough character. He's a tough guy to wrestle.
Yeah.
He's strong. He's very physical. It's hard getting to his legs. If you don't have a severe weight advantage on him, it's hard to turn, hard to ride. He's a pretty tough character.
Yeah, he's going to be fun to watch this year. You got Laird Root at 2, returning 3rd placer from state last year at the same weight class. He's another guy kind of similar to Miguel, actually. I'd like to see them wrestle. They're both, kind of that shorter, stouter physical body. That would be really interesting to see two, it'd be like watching two bulls collide. Then you kind of got Colin Guffey, who's a little longer. He's well over 6 foot and he's lanky. Just committed to Stanford actually to go partner up with Aiden Valencia and Grigor for the class of 2024. That's going to be cool. And then you got sophomore Leo Contino, also
he's
another
pretty tough.
Yeah, very tough.
He's
Him
very tough.
and Guffey had a good match out at Elite 8. I think Guffey won 4-0, but Contino, man, he came out there and he was a 26 pounder last year and he's all the way up at 52s.
So he actually probably wasn't going to make the lineup. He was wrestling 38s. He wrestled 38 at Zinkin and had a really good match with our guy and was in the finals of Zinkin. And then it was like, the next big tournament, he was wrestling 26.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you're pretty tough. You're a freshman. Let's see where we can put you in the lineup.
Right. And, he obviously put on a ton of weight. Now he's up at 52s and thriving.
His older brother was big too. I want to say his brother wrestled like 52s or 60s for Buchanan 2 years ago.
Can't knock Guffey though. I mean, he was a 32 pounder last year and he's all the way up at 52s. So yeah, you got some lighter weight guys that are now making strides up at the middleweight. So that's kind of fun to see. And then you can't sleep on Gavin Fernandez from De La Salle. Senior just committed to Poly, another Pac-12 guy out of California. So that'll be fun to watch him through the years. And I've watched him wrestle. He's scrappy. He's got some talent. So he's going to be fun to watch. This weight class is sick. I like it a lot. It's going to be interesting. If you add in Bo to the mix, it just gets even wilder. And I think truly without any bias, it can be biased, it cannot be biased, but it's going to be the toughest weight at the state meet if it holds.
Yeah, if all these guys stay at this weight.
True. Wouldn't be surprised if someone drops or someone goes up.
60s. This one's gonna be a good weight. And so again, like this is one of those things where if these guys go this weight, it's gonna be pretty legit. I like Nico Ruiz. I want to say he got was it a major last year in the finals?
Yeah, 10-0 win over Swan in the finals.
Yeah, so it would be a rematch of the same finals from the year before, the weight class below. Posada, I mean, he's pretty tough. Placed 4th last year as a freshman, which is I remember watching him wrestle, and I actually forgot who he wrestled, but it was something like, dude, he was like wrestling somebody that was supposed to be pretty good, and he just beat him like it was like under a minute, like he threw him. So he's kind of a savage. I like the way that he wrestles. He wrestles hard. He's not afraid to go and get a takedown. I like Jake Honey too. I feel like his style kind of gives some problems to some guys. He wrestles real low to the mat. And for our guy Bryson Tablet, we spent a lot of time trying to figure him out. But yeah, he's pretty tough. He's a pretty tough guy. And then I know Travis Grace. I don't know if it's Grace or Gracie. I want to say he was a finalist at Fargo. I think he might have taken maybe second Fargo at 16U, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's huge.
But I don't know what you think.
This weight's tough because I don't know. Did you watch the finals for Super 32?
With who?
With Nico. He was in the finals this past year. I can't remember, or this past tournament. It was just a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
He wrestled at Super 32 up at 160s, was in the finals. I can't remember the guy's name who he wrestled, but it looked like Nico hurt his knee real bad. And he finished out the match. He toughened it out, but he lost a close one. When he got hurt, he was winning. He ends up losing the match. And from what I've heard, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I heard maybe some MCL, ACL, or something other injury. And I know that kind of injury could take a long time to come back from. So it's just hard because he's already a state champ, right? He already won a California state title. He's committed to Arizona State, right? If he's that banged up or if the knee is just not quite there, this is just me, my opinion. Like, he doesn't need to go out there and, put his leg on the line to try to win another state title. Now, I'm all about legacy. I'm all about trying to, put your name up on the leaderboard as many times as possible. But when it comes to, bettering yourself for your college career, and, I'd imagine he's a guy who's going to go into the ASU room and hopefully try to make an impact right away. I just don't know, if he even wrestles this year, if he just rests, tries to get his leg healthy for college. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but wishing him a speedy recovery, hopefully. And, I hope we do see him out there before the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it kind of just goes back on what motivates you. I know, if you want to do it because, you want the legacy and you want to leave behind, like, hey, I was a two-time state place or two-time state champ. That's great. I think about, for me, like, as a competitor, like, if there's a way for me to go, I'm going. My junior year, I actually broke a rib and broke a wrist. I broke my wrist playing football and wrestled the whole season with it. And then I broke a rib maybe like a month before our league tournament, which was our state qualifier, our first state qualifier. I was like, dude, like, I mean, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. And I know, did you see the Spencer Lee documentary that the Big Ten Network did?
Yes.
He talks about, he had a torn ACL and lost to DeSanto in the finals, PA States. And, he woke up his dad in the middle of the night. He's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I don't have any regrets. I just want to see if I can do it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what he does. I mean, who knows? Ultimately, that comes probably down to him, the coaches that he's currently under at Bosco, and then as well as I'm sure he's in communication with Arizona State, keeping them up to date as to what's going on. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, what does happen with this weight class, and we'll be wishing him a speedy recovery nonetheless. So
yeah, I will say this, I'm going to be kind of showing my cards a little bit. Not sure exactly what weight our guy's going to go, whether it'll be 52s or 60s. I mean, dude, the dude is just like a freak athlete. Like, he's super talented. He's super fast. He does football, wrestling, and track. Pretty phenomenal athlete. He's probably going to go the football route for college. But, he had some pretty good matches at the freestyle state tournament. And, I wouldn't put him away from, possibly being a possible player this year. Even if he wrestles 60s. He's pretty explosive and he's pretty tough.
Yeah. Those freaking really good football players. It's always a bummer when you see him go and play football in college rather than wrestle. But
I don't care. I mean, my thing is, do what you want to do. Like, this is your experience, and football is or wrestling. Really any sport is just a vehicle to help you get somewhere, get you where you want to go. So
the biggest thing is just
doing it just for football. Awesome.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just getting them to college, getting them to that next level, whether it's wrestling or football, it don't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go up. Yeah, I like this weight. Right off the get-go, top 7 returning state medalists. That is cool. I don't know if we have that in any other weight. So for those of you who are saying this might be the toughest weight, you're not wrong. I don't know if we had any other weight with more than 7 returning medalists. Back and count, but you got Sergio Montoya, Clovis North, Oregon State commit, Pac-12. That this guy's a stud, returning finalist. Just really good, wrestling up there under Red Wave, just doing a lot of good things.
Really nice kid too. Like comes from a good family.
Yeah.
He's not like afraid. Like is really mature in terms of just talking to adults. Seems like he has a good head on his shoulders. And he can like lead a room. Like we took some of our youth kids up there to Red Wave, and he was in there. So kind of got to talk to him a little bit. But he's a leader of the room. And I was actually kind of hoping he was going to go Cal State Bakersfield route, but with Oregon State, or he's going to go to Oregon State. Really good kid. Really good at like really dynamic on his feet. Like has a lot of good setups, a lot of good motion. Kind of can mix some upper body in there too. Overall pretty tough. Who did he lose to? He lost to Cesar Garcia last year.
Cesar Garza from Oakdale.
Yeah.
Who's at Michigan State now.
That was a tough match.
Yeah, that guy was really good.
I mean, he's my pick to win a state title this year at this weight.
Yeah. Don't sleep on Condon from Poway, committed to Wisconsin to go join his former teammate Bobzian, who we talked about earlier. Condon's good. I mean, he took 3rd at that weight last year. I want to say I don't know if these two have met before, Montoya and Condon. That's something to look into to see if they've met. But that'd make an interesting finals match. Kind of 2 seniors who are trying to go out with a state title before going off to wrestle at a Pac-12 or Big Ten school, and to see if any of the other guys below them can kind of sneak in there and squeak their way into a finals match with one of them. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and then a couple of these other guys like Mason Espinoza, he's pretty tough. He got 5th last year. Actually beat our guy in the round of 12, which that still hurts. But another guy too is Adrian Reyes. He actually won UWWs for U16 at Vegas last. Was it in April?
Yeah.
So he's pretty tough. He's a really strong guy, and he kind of wrestles that just typical kind of Clovis style where you just stay in position and you get off the bottom. And he's pretty strong, so he wrestles from underhooks. He's got a really good kind of just one on like a near wrist, like that question mark snap.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call that. Like we just call it one arm snap, Russian tie.
Right.
He's pretty strong wrestler, and I think just overall, like no matter who he wrestles, like it just becomes like a dogfight. Like it just becomes a close match.
Down at 11,
we have to be battling out. Looks like, I mean, just from these rankings, he'll have to be battling a senior for the spot. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and then down at 11, like we kind of were talking about earlier in the rankings, is a freshman at 170 who makes it at number 11. I mean, I don't know what this guy's done. His name is unfamiliar to me, Mason Ontiveros from Pittman. But I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that name now, just because it's not easy at 170 at that heavy of a weight to come in as a freshman and be already kind of recognized on this scale. So that's going to be interesting to watch him. I'm not really familiar with what tournaments Pittman's usually at, but I'll be definitely keeping my eyes open for him.
Yeah, for sure.
82s.
I like the 1 and 2s here. I'm not sure if Montero is going to go 82s or not. I think he might go 95s, but again, I don't know exactly. But he's another like just tough kid. He's smart. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got great bloodlines. His uncle Mitch Montero was an All-American for Cal State Bakersfield, and then his dad's just a freaking animal. wrestled at Cal State Bakersfield, wrestled at Cal Poly as well. So he's got the bloodline for it, but again, just a really tough guy. And I don't know if you remember his match last year against man, why am I blanking on his name now? It's
Buchanan guy. Rogers? Was it Rogers? No.
No. It's
Way bigger.
whatever.
It was Buchanan. That's all I remember.
But they both like shot at the same time, and the other guy just was able to get taken down. But I look for Matt, or sorry, for Ty, whether this weight or the weight above. I look up to him to contend for a title for sure. He beat McDonald last year in the semis at 82s. And McDonald's tough too. He's a tough customer. He wrestles really hard. He's really physical, really strong. Like he looks strong. He looks like a grown man.
He's jacked.
Yeah, he hand fights hard, man. Like he hand fights hard, and he's not afraid to be physical, which is cool to see from a high school wrestler.
Yeah, McDonald, I've been watching him for a while. He is humongous. I mean, the guy's got muscles on his muscles. He's fun to watch. Also, shout out Pac-12 here. We got a Stanford, Oregon State, and Cal Poly commit. Like that's pretty cool.
I mean, it just goes to show you like the increasing strength of the conference. It's good for a lot of these Pac-12 schools to keep California wrestlers in the region.
Yeah, I definitely think our next episode will dive a little bit more into college wrestling, but definitely a hot topic is the rise of the Pac-12. It's coming back, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. It was Joseph Martin, by the way.
Oh, you're right. Joseph Martin.
Yeah, I don't know how we can forget.
Someone just tweet that in right now to us.
No, I looked it up.
Okay.
Google.
Next weight.
So we're missing some names here. This weight and 220s.
Ryan, go back.
Some Gilroy guys.
Ryan, go back real quick. Forgot to make note of someone on my cheat sheet here. Okay, number 6. We talked about football players real quick. I only know this San Diego guy. Mason Walsh rounded 12 last year at the state meet. This kid, I didn't know this. I did not know this. I just found this out like 2 weeks ago. This kid is a superstar football player. Like he's putting up rushing numbers. I think he's a running back. He's putting up rushing numbers where he's like, putting up video game stats. It's insane. Carlsbad, I think, is the number 1 team in San Diego for football. And this kid, he's probably going to play football in college, I'd imagine, but he is just a freaking animal. And I had no idea because I know him, but I don't know him that well. And someone was just telling me because high school football playoffs are going on right now. And someone was like, yeah, dude, Walsh is a stud out at Carlsbad. Like, check out his numbers. And I was looking at some of his stats. It's just unreal. So shout out Mason. Hopefully he gets a state title in football and then brings home a state medal for wrestling. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I know Oscar Alfaro. I actually remember him when he was a little kid. I remember I went and was a camp counselor at a Fremont High School. They had a camp up there in Sunnyvale. But he's a football player too. And, he's a pretty tough kid, nice kid. His dad's a really great guy. Was lost in the Masters place last year. But, hopefully he gets a medal this year. Like I say, he's a nice kid. But, again, dude, like there's another freshman, like Jonathan Rocha. I remember watching him at World Challenge. I think he got a win over Joe Buck with Clovis. Who knows if this is going to be his actual weight, probably just because of how competitive the room is. I don't know if that's actually, probably his ideal weight, but, he's just another kid, just another one, another Buchanan freshman that, possibly could contend for a medal as well.
I can see it. I can see it happening.
Okay, are you ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right.
So I'm just going to come out and say this, like 95s and really up are some of the most wide open weights. And this one, like, I don't know if the Merrill brothers, like, were exactly if or where they would fit into this. I think the older one, I've heard Maiko 220s and the younger one, Maiko 95s. but they're not even on here. So it's yeah. I mean, I think there's people that know why, and I kind of did some investigating after we talked earlier. But it's something just hearing some of those things, like it kind of gets me kind of fired up, on one side. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
So I don't know if the people watching can see the actual breakdown because it shows Sony at number 1.
Yeah.
But when you pull up the data sheet, it's got, for those of you who can't see this, it's got Cody Merrill, who's a junior, returning state champion from Gilroy High School. It shows him as number 1, but then it says pending. So then his number 1 is vacated, and it says pending under the school section, right? So meaning like no one knows what school he's going to yet. And then number 1 then drops to the next guy, who's Sony Kling. Interesting about Sony Kling, he was second at state last year to Cody Merrill from Gilroy. But Sony was at Palm Desert, which is a very good school down in the southern section, coached by the Montanonas. Now he's transferred to Canyon Springs, which is also within the southern section. And I just don't know why. He's a 95-pounder who had the Montanonas to wrestle with. He had, the state champ heavyweight is still there from Palm Desert. I'm pretty sure they have a pretty decent 220-pounder. I don't know.
Maybe the Merrills are coming back.
I have no idea, but yeah, maybe the Merrills are coming back to Palm Desert. I don't know. All I do know is whatever team lands Cody Merrill lands his younger but bigger brother, Little Merrill, and whichever team lands those two guys gets a enormous bump in their team score for the state meet, because both.
I mean, what was the one that won last year? Cody. Is that the older one or the younger one?
The older one is a junior this year and was a state champ last year as a sophomore. The younger one is an incoming freshman.
Gotcha.
Who's going to be very good.
Well, the one last year, I mean, like potentially, that's like 30 points a pop at the state meet, and they're both finals.
Yeah,
which is pretty. That's a lot, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like if Gilroy loses both of those, I mean, that's like 60 points. Quick math. Yeah,
hurts them a lot. So yeah, it should be interesting to see kind of what happens. But yeah, I don't know where the Merrills go. I don't know where they land, but wherever they do land, if they choose to even wrestle this year, which I'd imagine they do, they're gonna boost that team's score by a lot. So
yeah,
this is a good weight. Pretty cool to see 2 San Diego guys in the top 8 here, Robert Platt and Kevin Clements. I know both these guys personally, both really good dudes. Platt just a junior, Clements a senior. Really hoping they bring some medals home for the section. Clements actually wrestles at a really small school, all boys school, St. Augustine, small Catholic school in San Diego. Not really known for their wrestling. They've got, more of a football, baseball ties. But it's really cool to see a big time wrestler like him coming from a small school. You don't see that very often.
No, I agree. That's a big deal. Dwight Weimer, I'm not sure if he's going to be at 95s. It might just be something to where it kind of just depends on maybe where Ty goes. I can see him going 95s. I could also see him at 82s, maybe even 70s again. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I think in a couple of weeks these rankings will have a little bit more accuracy with the weights and all that once people start competing.
Yeah.
220.
I'm gonna say this. I really like Murillo. He's a tough kid. Kind of came on late last year. But just so you know, he put a lot of time in the off season. Nice kid. Again, comes from a nice family. I think he's pretty big. He's an athletic guy. Works hard. And he's got really good partners in the room, from his teammates to, some coaches that are literally around his size and, probably really great workouts for him.
Right. Yeah. And then you got, Nicholas Sahakian from St. John Bosco at 1, took third at state last year at this weight. Just an enormous human being. I mean, he's not, fat by any means. He's just a big dude, super tall, super athletic. He's going to be fun to watch. He's going to be on a tear, I think, to get his first state title. He took 7th at Super 32 just a couple weeks back. Took first at U16 National Greco. Was 3-2 in freestyle. I mean, the guy does it all. He's going to be fun to watch. I think he's on a real tear to bring home a state title. So that'll be fun. Now the people can't see down between number 8, Cannon Campbell, and number 9, Caden Johnson. The ranker has fit in freshman Kobe Merrill, which is the Merrill's little brother. And his says pending as well, depending on what school he lands. So if he was at a school, he'd be fit in right at the 9 spot, which I think is fair as a freshman. But just to tell you what this guy's done, he was 7th at 16U Nationals Freestyle. He was 1st at 16U National Greco. Was 2nd back in 2021 at 15U Cadet Freestyle, and was 3rd at 15U UWW Cadet Greco. I mean, the guy, he's good. He knows how to wrestle. He's got his brother as a training partner, I'd imagine. So he's going to be a big time freshman that's going to make a lot of noise, even up at 220.
How often do you think DC wrestles with those guys?
That's a good question. I'd imagine DC scraps in the room. I'd imagine he does.
I feel like, I feel like in terms of like who runs the day to day, it's probably more like Andrade and Darren Wynn. Because I know, I'm sure just with his commitments like with the UFC and AKA and stuff like that, he probably stays pretty busy.
Yeah, I'd imagine. But I could see. I just feel like DC, he's just always probably down to scrap. He's always going to be down. Like if practice is going on, I have a hard time believing that he just isn't doing anything. I feel like he's just going to be in there no matter what.
Yeah.
Good weight though. It's good weight. The big boys, bring them on.
Yeah, I don't even know, dude. I don't even know about
this weight class was my least favorite last year, and not because they're heavy, right? Because I freaking like watching heavyweights that know how to wrestle. But it was my least favorite just in terms of depth, and I have a feeling it's going to be like that again. Daniel,
looking at it, like everyone on here, it was their first trip to the state tournament last year.
Yeah.
Except for, that's not right. Joseph Tacoma, that's not right. That's got to be 2022.
Yeah.
But literally, their first time in the state tournament was last year.
Yeah, and Daniel Herrera, returning state champ, pretty much bonused his way through the state meet, pinning in the finals. The guy's a stud from Palm Desert, just committed to go wrestle at Big 12, Iowa State, along with Coach Dresser, Metcalf, and St. John. So, I mean, what more could you ask for? This guy's knows what he's doing. He's probably he pinned Sam Hinojosa in the finals last year. If they meet again, I don't see another outcome, other than that. And I think everyone below is in for the same kind of hurt. I just don't see anyone getting between Herrera and a second state title.
Yeah, really all of these like upper weight classes is pretty wide open. I think the only underclassman in this is Adam Stanley. He's a freshman last year. Don't know too much about his character-wise, but just hearing at tournaments, he seems like he's a nice kid. Just hearing stuff from Fierro and Montero, he seems like he's a hard worker. And going 0-2 as a freshman at heavyweight at state, being a state qualifier at all as a freshman at heavyweight is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
I think look to him maybe to make some bigger strides this year.
Yeah, I could see it. I kind of wrote this in my notes. It would be kind of cool if we did some kind of award for California for kind of like the Hodge Trophy, because I think Daniel could have a really good opportunity at winning it, just because I think he bonuses his way through his junior season. I don't see anyone stopping this guy this year.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
Get on to the team race.
On to the team race. Okay, you want to start? We'll start.
Start at 1. What are you doing?
We got to start at the bottom.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
How about we just scroll up? So like just looking at San Diego, you got Rancho, you have Rancho, you have Granite Hills, and you have Poway, right? How do you guys feel like you fit as a team against those guys in San Diego?
I feel like we've come a long way. Obviously, you can see right here. Last year we had only one medalist, which was Colin Guffey. I think we took two other boys to state that year as well with Colin. And we came out with a 33rd, team finish, which was awesome because it was my first state medalist. He's obviously back looking for a state title this year, and now he's bringing a few more of the boys with him that hopefully can join him on his conquest and bring some medals home. So it's going to be fun. I think Poway is just a tough team. As you can see, we've got some holes in our lineup on the rankings there. When you go look at Poway, they're pretty much, top 10 all the way through the lineup minus, 195s in heavyweight, but they've got top 10 guys at every weight. So they've got
It's kind of crazy to think like you guys just had 3 state qualifiers last year. And just looking at you now, it's like, just based on these rankings, you're projected to have, 8?
Yeah.
And possibly 2 placers.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. 8 with 2 placers. And honestly, there's a couple guys that didn't quite make it in here on the big sheet ranking that I think are going to cause some problems down here in the section for San Diego. So it's going to be a fun year. We're really excited. We've got a couple seniors, but I wouldn't say we're senior heavy by any means. It's going to be a good year. We put a lot of hard work in over the last couple of years. I think it's going to be my 4th or 5th season now with the team. So we're finally starting to see, the dues pay off, and it's all rolling in the right direction.
Whose idea was you guys don't get, I guess, a choice to choose what your picture here is going to be.
Right. So funny thing is, I anticipated us to be ranked around 15 to 20 as a team. So I had asked our head coach, Jesse Sheard, who's one of my best friends. I hit him up and I'm like, hey, has Michael Cho reached out to you regarding a picture for our state ranking? Because I'd imagine all these other coaches, they have a picture that they send in and Cho uses it, And Jesse says, no, I hadn't heard anything. And then the rankings came out like 2 days later. And I scrolled down. One, I was mind blown that we were number 10. It was a good feeling, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot that, it hasn't been done yet. It just is a projection, right? Still good. It still feels good though. But then I look at the photo and I'm cracking up because on the far right, you have Coach Sheard. I'm on the far left. And then second in from me is assistant coach Brady Beeman. And then all the way in the middle is our old Granite Hills principal. He's no longer, I forget where he's at now. He's not a wrestling coach. He's not really involved other than he's a principal of the high school that we coach at. But he drove to the state meet last year to watch us wrestle because it was such a big deal that we took 3 qualifiers to the state meet.
That's awesome.
We snapped this photo. I want to say it got posted on Facebook, and now it's here. So
that's probably where they got it then. I know some of Jesse's photos, like I want to say like his Instagram photo, it's like him with like a bandana over his face or something like that.
Yeah, he cracks me up. He's a funny guy.
He's funny, man. He's a goof.
Let's talk about Frontier though, down at what, 13?
Man, that's a great picture of Carlo.
I wish you were in there, but can't really beat Carlo's face.
It's not about me, but yeah, I mean, you talk about face of the program. I mean, that's a great face. That's a great face.
Right. And how many did you guys take the state last year?
We took 7. No, we took 7, I think.
Okay. Projected to take 6 this year. I'm sure you have a couple sleepers in there though.
Yeah. So at 106, we have a guy last year. He was a little bit undersized for the weight. He was actually, I want to say, like 90 something pounds. Maybe I want to say like low 90s maybe like 89, 90 pounds actually.
Right.
And it was his first year wrestling in a long time. So he wrestled youth and then didn't wrestle during the COVID year. And then his sophomore year, he's like, all right, I'm here to wrestle. And was super undersized for the weight. But he has some positions that he's really good at and some others that he's still developing. I think realistically, he should be a state qualifier this year. But again, it's like we'll see. Central section is tough to get through, but he's a pretty tough guy. At 13s, we have a freshman we have a couple freshmen actually that are probably gonna have to wrestle off for the spot. But there are two guys that wrestle for Elite Force, our youth club, and we're pretty tough characters. We'll see. Not sure exactly how like 13s through honestly like 32s are going to shape out in terms of who's going to be our starter. It's kind of the mix of freshmen with we had a guy that transferred in, and then we have a senior that's at that weight. So kind of not really sure where everyone's going to fit. I'd say we're probably in those 4 weight classes. I expect at least maybe 2, maybe 3 state qualifiers out of that. I really like I'm just going to say this. I really like our freshmen around those weight, and we'll see what happens. At 38s, we have a pretty tough guy. He's a senior. We'll see what happens with him. I like keeping things relatively close to the chest. So I'm not going to say too much about some of these other weights. But I really like where our guys are. And I think, this group just overall, I think is going to really set up the next couple of years. So,
Right.
I like where we are. I think a lot of our guys, like our seniors right now, got some stuff they got to prove. And, we'll see where they're at in the season. That's all I can really say.
Hell yeah. It's going to be a fun year. I'm excited. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen your face in like
a couple weeks.
An hour. Yeah. I mean.
Oh, wow. This was good, dude. Next episode, I say we get into some college wrestling, though.
Yeah, for sure. I just watched Voinovich. Is it Voinovich from Oklahoma State? And something Bryant from Lehigh. Did you watch that duel?
Yeah, that was a sick match.
Dude, I like it when guys just don't give a rip and just freaking he just got double underhooks and put him to his back, and I was like, damn, dude. I like guys that just aren't afraid to let it fly. But then they just got a big lead and just stop wrestling a little bit.
Kind of gassed a little bit, and Voinovich just kept pushing the pace. He hits a sick lefty high C. He has a younger brother who's nationally ranked, I think, at 145. Colin Guffey wrestled him at Elite 8, and Colin beat him. But I told Colin before the match, hey, this kid shoots a sick lefty high C just like his brother does. Don't let him. And of course, like 5 seconds into the match, lefty high C, he's in on Colin's leg, and we're scrambling.
Well, I mean, don't let him get your leg.
Okay. Right. But if I tell you like what he's gonna do, I mean, I would be hoping that you could stop it, but it happens, right? And it just goes to show how good they are. They hit that unique lefty high C. You don't see it a lot. Post high C double, and they're good with it. So the older brother's gonna be really fun to watch. The younger brother who wrestles at Stillwater High School is also committed to Okie State. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch them.
All right, man. Well, this was fun. It went a little bit longer than we thought it was going to go, but that's okay. Anyways, man, you got anything final left to say?
Good luck this year, bud. I'll see you at some tournaments.
All right, bud. See ya at tournament.
We'll see whose team prevails.
I mean, we both can do well.
That's what I hope for.
Like when we win state, I hope you guys get at least like second.
I would be ecstatic about that.
Okay. All right, man.
All right, Brian. Talk to you later, dude.
See ya.